Hi, everyone. This is Nora Armani, and we are on the third broadcast of our Meet the Filmmakers sessions of the SRFF 2023, our 10th annual edition of SR Socially Relevant Film Festival, New York. I am so thrilled to have all the filmmakers with me today. And we have been speaking to a number of filmmakers. If you have been watching our Meet the Filmmakers session, we already spoke to a lot of them, and it's ongoing every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, New York and Canada. We are online live with the filmmakers of this year's selection. This is a wonderful way for us to find out about them, about their films, about the idea that triggered the creation of the film, and also to have a little taste. We're not going to show any trailers here because A, they don't work very well. B, they are all on our YouTube channel and also on the festival website, which I am going to show you here. So this is the festival website. You have all the information on the films, which is where you can also purchase your tickets and find the schedule. Now we have added the ticket buttons because some people were having a difficulty finding them. So they're on every page, and we made them a very bright color so you cannot miss them. The only downside is that there are no individual tickets links to individual films. So you have to go to the main one and scroll down the line, try to find the title of the film and the day which you are interested in, and that's how you purchase your ticket. Also, at this stage, we have for a limited time $7 early bird tickets and $100 early bird all access pass, which is a great deal because already the VIP ticket for opening night, which includes the two films, the reception, the honor awards, and chances to have pictures with our VIP and celebrity honorees, is already $50. So you spend half of that, and then the rest you can use all week long to attend every single event that the festival has on offer for you. So without further ado, let me go back and bring on the filmmakers and who are here all with us. We have one more person who's trying to get in, but technology is not being on our ally today, but maybe later on the gods of technology will decide that he needs a break and will join us. But so in the first instance, we are going to go quickly around and each one of us will introduce themselves briefly and say something about the film they are presenting and what it is about. And then we're going to go further in depth into the discussions. So maybe we'll start with Catherine, who was with us already on the first day, but she has two films in this selection. This is a rarity. So we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Thank you, Nora. Really exciting. So, my film, Way to Go, is about the highest altitude working composting toilet in the United States. And it is on Mount Shasta in California. And I'm really excited that it's playing in this environmental film grouping. I'll tell you more about it.
Sure. Teja?
Hi, yeah, so excited to be here. My name is Taya Jeanette, and my film is Gen Z Mental Health Climate Stories. Didn't quite fit in the tag here, but it is a short documentary that explores the mental health impacts of the climate crisis on young adults worldwide.
Cool. Yes. Actually, this selection is not only climate, it's also the effects of climate. And, all these changes are all interrelated in reality. And we have in this selection also the LGBTQ group. So they are both together in this selection. Yes, Jess?
Hi, I'm Jess Irish, and I'm the director of an experimental documentary short called This Mortal Plastic. It looks at the phenomenon of single-use synthetics told through the lens of poetry and time.
Great. And David.
Hi, yeah, I'm David Tarleton, and I am a director and producer of the short film Identity. My wife, Adria Dawn, produced and directed and wrote it with me. She unfortunately can't be here today because she has COVID and is feeling sick. So Identity is a short film that we made in conjunction with middle school and high school age kids around topics of gender identity, inclusion, pronouns, and that kind of stuff. And it's the 8th of a series of these films we've been making.
I'm in.
That is so cool. Thank you so much for being with us again. And
yes, yeah, this is the 4th time being at this festival. Thanks for having us again, Nora.
Thank you.
It's such a
Thank
good
you.
festival.
So we have 2 new people who have joined us, but we will come to them. Mika and Frank, we are doing the round quickly. Everybody's saying something about themselves and about their film, and then we're going to go further in depth. Also, I forgot to mention that whoever is not speaking, please shut your the microphones, put it on mute so that we don't get a lot of background noise because we're so many. Okay, Bonnie.
Hi, thanks for having me here. Glad to be at the festival. My name's Bonnie Walsh. I'm a producer, director, writer based out of Boston. And the series of short films I produced and wrote along with Susan Gray is called Climate Emergency Feedback Loops. And it's a series of 5 short films that are science documentaries narrated by Richard Gere about how climate feedback loops work and how they're affecting the global warming.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. And we have next Mika. Am I pronouncing it right or wrong?
Yes, my name is Mika. I would like to check, is this like live broadcasting at the moment or just?
Yes, we are live now.
Okay. Then I have been calculating this time zones wrongly. So I'm Mika Poutiainen, and my film is Rebels with a Cause, and I'm from Finland. I normally live in Helsinki, but at the moment I am in India, Mumbai. So it's quite a big time differences. It's past midnight at the moment here, and I just came from the filming just a few minutes ago. My documentary Rebels with a Cause is about Extinction Rebellion climate change movement and 2 young activists, Sunny and Elti, who is also a queer activist. And Extinction Rebellion is one of the most visible environmental movements in Finland, and it's also very big in Europe if people in States don't know what is Extinction Rebellion. And film also, you know.
No, you have to tell us when we come back, when you go a little bit further into your film.
Okay.
We need to hear about it because maybe, yes, you're right. Maybe we don't know about it. Okay, Frank, it's wonderful to have you.
It's glad to be back in here.
Yes, tell us about yourself and the film. Okay, we lost your film title.
Okay, hi, I'm Frank Fazio from Colorado, and my film is Common Thread, which is a global documentary that I did with filmmakers around the world on climate change. And we talk to children around the world and their concerns about the planet and their future. And it was a meaningful and challenging film for me and for us filmmakers.
Yeah, well, it's really glad. We're really glad that you're here. As when we come back to you, you can give us a more detailed analysis of how this whole thing came about. So there we go. We have a round of wonderful projects, and they're mostly about climate change, and some mental health, of course, as well, and LGBTQ. So who wants to be the first volunteer to go and answer the question, how did the idea of your film come about? And how did you bring it from idea or film script to a realization? Somebody's microphone is picking up a lot of background noise. Can you please mute yourself when you're not speaking? Yeah, thank you. All right, thanks. So who wants to be the first volunteer to talk about their film? Nobody?
I'll do it.
Yeah, cool.
So my film had kind of a unique beginning. Every time we finish a film, probably some of you experience this. They say, "What's your next movie?" And I had lived in Mount Shasta, California for 18 years. And I was in line at a film festival. And I said, well, I need to go back to Mount Shasta and make a film. And my friend said, well, you should make a film about the composting toilet on Mount Shasta. And I said, well, usually I'm not that specific. I just get an idea. But I'll tell you what, I'll sleep on it for 24 hours. And if I have a good title, I'll make the movie. And so the next morning, the title, Way to Go, came into me. And I just, of course, a lot of double entendre there, right? So I had a wonderful time going back to Mount Shasta. I currently live in Ashland, Oregon. And I actually hired a group of young filmmakers, friends of mine, when they were teens. And now they're young men that have a production company called Pusher. And they helped me film on the mountain because we had to climb up and so on. And then it ended up having sort of multi-layers that I was able to capture education for kids about environmental consciousness and taking out your poop, basically. Found out that actually, having fecal matter in the environment is a huge problem all over the world. So it really brings to fore the leave no trace concept when you're going into the wilderness. I also looked into the history of what was going on with that toilet. And I just learned so much in the process. And it turned into kind of a fun film. And I call it my accidental environmental film because that was not my original intent. But anyway, I hope you enjoy it when you see it. And I certainly look forward to seeing all of your films when they play.
Yeah, this is a wonderful opportunity also for all of us, like the filmmakers, to get to know each other, to hear about each other's films, and also make up their minds if they're actually coming. And if you're not coming, we also have an online section of the festival. We're hybrid this year, like we did last year as well. And after the 24th, starting the 24th of March until the 31st, you were going to be able to, most of the films, with the exception of 2 or 3 that have not had the license for online streaming, everything else will be available online. So either come and see them in the theater or later on catch them online. Yes, Taya.
Yeah, so the idea for this film is actually kind of had an interesting path towards becoming a film. It started as a piece of a panel from the annual Hollywood Climate Summit, which I'm involved in every year. And we were doing a panel unpacking climate emotions that was all about, kind of destigmatizing climate mental health and how we want to see mental health represented on the screen. And then we ended up thinking kind of like, what if we create a film that's about, the impact of mental health or the climate crisis on mental health, and especially for, young adults who are kind of facing the biggest impact of this. It's our future. And this idea just kind of started rolling together as part of the panel. And then as we continue to reach out and start actually formulating the idea, Climate Mental Health Network, which is a fantastic organization, reached out to their Gen Z advisory board. And we got all of them to just tell us about, their climate fears and how it impacts them on a daily basis. And then also their, tools for emotional resilience, what builds emotional resilience in their own life and how they're kind of grappling with these climate anxiety and climate emotions in their daily life. And as we kind of brought all these stories together, an idea formulated that everyone was kind of ending on this idea of, when I'm together with other people, when I'm able to talk about how climate change is affecting me, I just feel so much better. And when I'm able to actually feel like I'm fighting for a better future, I feel better. Like I feel happier about my own potential future and what world we can live in. So we kind of continued to go with that idea. And as we went on, we realized that it was feeling very Western centric, and we wanted to expand the idea to a more global impact, because this is really affecting everyone. And it's actually affecting, the global South a lot more, and people who are dealing with climate trauma right now. And so we reached out to a lot of organizations that are working with youth-led groups around the world. And we just kind of brought together all of these stories into this beautiful digital mosaic of perspectives on the climate crisis and how it's affecting the young generation. I'm Gen Z myself, so this is a very personal story for me, and something that affected me a lot throughout the creation of the story. And yeah, it kind of brought together this greater perspective into an aligned story of how it's impacting us and what we're doing right now to build emotional resilience in our own lives.
That's very interesting that you said they notice that when they talk about it, when they come together and share the stories, which is the spirit of this festival as well. Because sometimes I'm not accused, but I am pointed out that the films are also depressing. They are talking about such terrible projects and subjects and what do we do and so on. And I say, yes, they are. However, we are sometimes also careful to program a film that not only talks about a horrible issue like climate change or anything like human trafficking. We've dealt with some incredible, or the prison system, or we have very heavy topics that might be homelessness, aging, and you name it. But we try to always find the uplifting element in it. And in yours, I can see that the uplifting element is the involvement of the youth and their proactivity and what they want to do about it. And they're feeling that we can't just ignore the matter and let the others take care of it. It's our future, so we have to step forward and do something about it. And by us sharing these stories together and talking to each other, we all feel like, okay, somebody cares about these films. So we have to keep going. All right, who wants to go next?
I can go.
Okay.
So Identity is the 8th in a series that my wife, Adria Dawn, and I have been making now for, 9 years, I think, called Kids Matter. And the series is focused around social issues that apply to youth today. We work with middle and high school age kids in the ideation process and the development of the stories. We've explored a lot of different topics. So this particular one is really focused around LGBTQ issues, and specifically like transgender identity, pronouns, inclusion, found family, chosen family. There's a lot of those sorts of topics. But we've had a lot of other ones in the series too. The last one we made before this was called Unsafe, about school shootings and gun violence in schools, and we've done ones on bullying and depression and all kinds of different topics. And with a focus on this perspective of youth today, just because kids today are having a very different experience than people my age, say, at this age. We were fortunate to have 3 of the kids who worked on this project with us who are identify as transgender. The sort of central story that we're exploring is inspired by one of their experiences. We really try to tell these stories from sort of contemporary, authentic experiences, and we're really excited about it. And I would like to hope, at least, that we end on a sort of hopeful note. Not that everything is perfect, but that I think that found family and community is possible, even in very difficult circumstances.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. As David mentioned earlier, a number of the films in the series have been screened at the Socially Relevant Film Festival, and each one of them has a focus having it at the core the youth and the children. So, who wants to go next? I'm getting a message from someone who's saying they're trying to get in, but I don't think they are on this list. Earlier, I had a problem in sending out um, an invitation, which was to the wrong group. So maybe that's what's happening. Okay, next.
I can jump in.
Okay, Bonnie.
Sorry. So my project is called Climate Emergency Feedback Loops. And I was actually just in the right place at the right time for this project because a producer came to my colleague, Susan, with this idea. He said, I've been talking to a lot of people, a lot of well-educated people about climate change, and a lot of them have never heard of this term feedback loops. And even people you would think would have heard about them haven't heard about them. So he had this goal of educating the public, the whole world, about climate feedback loops, which are these vicious cycles in the climate where warming causes more warming. So I spent about really 7 or 8 months researching all these various feedback loops. And we decided to make 5 short films that would be accessible and create a science curriculum to go along with them. So we have an introduction film, and then we have a film that covers forests, permafrost, the albedo effect, which is the Arctic ice melting, and atmosphere, which includes the jet stream and water vapor feedback loops. So we really wanted to tell very sort of simple, basic science stories explaining how these mechanisms work in the environment and how greenhouse gases, being emitted by burning of fossil fuels mainly, are creating even more warming by releasing methane and carbon dioxide in the permafrost as it thaws, by making the oceans warmer and more exposed in the Arctic, which makes more ice melt. So we tried to explain these concepts, and they're actually being used by a lot of teachers. We're encouraging teachers to use them in middle school and high school. And as I mentioned, we have a science curriculum also up on our website. So we've been getting a lot of traction with them. And we also use them to create a 1-hour documentary called Earth Emergency, which aired on PBS last year. So we're really trying to get the word out. And the film is being sold around the world as well.
Yeah, that's really good to hear, because we are at a stage where we are very quickly heading towards the point of no return. So, and we have to realize why that is happening. It's not like by trying to create less trash, we're going to be just be able to take care of that, because the process has already been triggered, and we need to understand what is happening exactly. So, who is next? Yes, Frank.
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Yes, what I'd like to say is I've been working with global filmmakers for many years now. And what I have learned and I've come to recognize is that we all have many things in common around the world that impact us. And whether it was COVID, whether it's a crisis, whether it's climate change, what I recognized and realized in my last film here was that our children may be worlds apart. They may have different languages. They may have different challenges, but they have one common thread, and that is they want a sustainable, livable planet and future. So this is why I thought, well, I will reach out to these global filmmakers that I've been working with for years and see if they are passionate about something that I'm passionate about, And sure enough, they were, and they recognized that this is something that it's impacting us all. And so, so I pitched the idea, and they loved every part of it. And what I was really interested in is just like my last film, is that I didn't want it to be scripted too much. I wanted it to be raw, real, and authentic. I wanted to hear what these children had to say. And I was clear about that with my filmmakers. I said, give them a minute, they'll say something. And believe it, we will probably discover things that we weren't even thinking about. So that was the idea, the concept, and the film. And I'm very pleased to say it's doing so well. And it's being used in curriculums in schools and in teaching. And so I'm very proud of it, and very proud and honored to be part of this film festival. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. In reality, that's how we operate as well. I keep bringing the parallels, but that's true. I'm asked often, what is the theme this year? And I say, well, we don't have a theme this year because it's a socially relevant film festival, and we are about all sorts of social issues and all sorts of themes. It's a broad range of them. But why we decide to focus on one and another each year is not because we decide beforehand. It's because we go and look at what the filmmakers are telling us. When we see these films, first of all, we go for the better ones. We don't, go for the themes of the films, but we go for the best filmmaking possible. And after we have decided which are the yeses that we are going to deal with, then we let all these themes float to the surface. And we notice that there are so many common threads. Like, yesterday we were talking about different films, and then I noticed that, yeah, we do have other films that are in the same family of themes that are still in the program. Maybe they're not going to be screening in person, but they are also screening in the online section. And the common threads keep coming up, which means these are the urgent issues that the filmmakers want to talk about. So we have Mika left. So tell us about your project, your film.
Okay, now. Yes, my project is Rebels with a Cause, which is about Extinction Rebellion, as I said, or it's an organization like Greenpeace, but even at the moment might be even more famous than Greenpeace, at least in Finland, maybe in the UK and many other European countries. But how the film happened, so everything happened like a flash, which is not very normal for a documentary that might like grow up in small steps. But that in this case, we had two small and simple phases how it all started. Firstly, I was in my summer house, and I saw TV and social media. There was a huge media coverage about some weird people who had blocked the busiest street of Helsinki, which is the capital of Finland. They were in front of Parliament House. I was wondering what is this, because I haven't seen or heard anything like that. I couldn't like connect to it anything. I was wondering that, and then it took a little time, and my friend Okko, who is also cinematographer in this film, called me and said that he was visiting in the city center and saw something that is not common in Finland, which is thought to be a very peaceful country. And what we have demonstration, but what he meant, what is that he saw is that there was very aggressive counter demonstration, which was like a little bit weird in Finland. And then we thought that maybe we should do something about that. And it all happened in a few days, and we almost immediately started to work because it was so current and interesting topic. And there is in the film, there is also, it handles trauma of an activist, which is something, it's a term that I haven't ever heard, that it came from during the filming. So the film is at least some level dealing with the trauma of the activists and how it affects young people, because you might not think that it might be quite traumatic experience. It's just normal. The common people might just think that they are having some fun in the streets, but it's quite hard work actually. The activists are talking about it as a work, even though they don't get paid, which is also quite interesting. And yes, as I mentioned, the idea was to make a film as fast as possible, like in few months. But after all, I noticed that I had to take more time because the whole film eventually was born in the editing table, and the structure was born in the editing table. So it needed like lots of polishing. I made several versions of it, and it always went in the better direction. So this is how it all happened.
That is
so
so
it took something like about 6 months only to make the film from start to finish. So it was really, really fast thing.
Yeah, that is interesting that you're saying that, the trauma, because it is a traumatic experience, because when you're an activist, it's not for 5 minutes, it's a big chunk of your life. And a lot of times the powers that be are trying to stifle that activism. And you're not just doing some activism to raise awareness, but you're also trying to fulfill something, a purpose. And then suddenly you see this purpose slipping from between your fingers, and it must be a very traumatic experience, and it stays with you because there were so many plays and stories written about the 60s and 70s, and then how people turned around and became capitalists after being hippies and all that stuff and so on. And that also in itself is also a very traumatic experience, because they chose a certain lifestyle which had to do a lot with activism. And in the process, you're putting your life at stake. It's not just talking about an issue for 5 minutes. It's like an investment of your life. So I can imagine. Jess?
Yeah, I need to, and I also said that it's good to understand that the activists are recovering like many weeks after the demonstration. So it's not like the 5-minute thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for sharing that. It's a very important topic. Yeah. Jess?
Hi, yeah, so my film, This Mortal Plastic, the title actually is a riff on the famous Shakespearean line, This Mortal Coil. And I made it during the lockdown period of the pandemic. I'm super happy that this film is in conversation with other ones that are about the climate crisis. Single-use synthetic plastics, in a way, they're sort of this strange microcosm of the climate crisis. They're so hard to let go of. Fossil fuels are so hard to draw down from because they're so useful and they're very powerful. So I initially wanted to, it had sort of been getting under my skin for years, and I had a year to work on a project, and so I did. And, at first it's just like, what is this stuff? Where is it? It's literally inside of all of us right this moment. It's everywhere on the planet. And it's this thing that we all know. We know what it feels like, and yet we don't really know what it is. And it has this strange relationship to time in that it is made from fossil fuels. So millions of years to make it. We use it for like a fraction of a second, and then it remains longer than our lifetimes and even generations. So I really wanted to take a kind of a philosophical, humanistic lens to just explore what this is on multiple levels and invite the viewer to kind of get unsettled, as well as it's also a marvelous invention. It does a lot of good things for us too. So it isn't a binary take on something being good or bad. And I kind of think that even though it's a really tricky moment where we know the stakes are so high for environmental crises in particular, and yet we have to also recognize complexity of all of these things that we're talking about. Who is speaking? How do we show up? How do we carry this on? So anyway, it was a personal film for me. I made it as my mother was dying, and so there was also a weight of mortality. And in the pandemic, we're all thinking about mortality and death. And yeah, so that's kind of the gist. And it took me about a year from research to putting out that first draft.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Listening to all the stories, especially about the environment and how we are headed down the point of no return way and all that, I'm thinking maybe this category should not have been named the climate category, but the horror film category, because these are such horrifying stories. It's more horrifying than a horror film, because in a horror film, they made up these things and they are trying to scare you, but you're not scared. But listening to these stories about climate and climate change is even more scary. So it's important to, maybe we should dedicate an entire festival series next year or something to just that, because it's true, we cannot talk about it enough. I'll take a moment here and read some of the comments that were left by the audience. I have one from our board member and festival team member, Michael Clays, who says, "Thanks to all the filmmakers for giving your time today. It's a great way to get ready for the festival and enjoy your work with the insight you shared." Thank you all. So next question, which brings us to the festival, which is kind of us being curious to find out how you found out about the festival and why you chose this festival and not another one. And I always say that it's important to read what the festival is about, because a lot of times we get submissions and we can tell that they didn't even pay attention to what this festival is about and what it does, as there were films that don't fit at all in our agenda. So so I'm curious to know how you found out and what are your expectations. Anyone?
I end up spending a lot of time looking for festivals that, of course, had an environmental lens. Festivals that cared about things like oceans or wildlife. In the past, I mean, I think it's really smart for filmmakers to think about what is the conversation with the audience that I want to have with this film, because there are so many out there, and I am super excited to be part of this one because, in a way, it's leaning into the idea that difficult problems, socially relevant issues, can also be incredibly impactful and creative storytelling. And so that's, I'm really looking forward to seeing the other works and being in conversation.
Yeah, thank you. We do too. So next, who wants to say how they came to us? We know how David came because he's been here since the first edition, actually.
That's right.
You know, in 2014. That was our first ever socially relevant film festival edition. And I had been guest curating a lot of film festivals in the past. I had been to all the major film festivals with films and without films, including Cannes with a film that I had co-produced, which was in the official selection a number of years ago. And I had said to myself, never, 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 never. I will never do a film festival because it's crazy. You have to be crazy to do that. And I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. And look where I am. So never say never. Yeah.
We're glad you took this on. I'm a film freeway. I troll Film Freeway looking for festivals that are relevant. And I loved this socially relevant concept. I mean, I think my filmmaking, I've picked it up in my retirement, and I call my film stories from the heart. And I am always looking to make a heart connection with the audience on various topics. And I realized in looking at a couple of my more recent films that they are indeed socially relevant. So it was just a really nice fit. And I've been so inspired by hearing all the rest of you. I won't be able to attend in person, but I'm excited that I'll be able to see your work online. And I appreciate, Nora, that you've continued a hybrid approach. And, thank you very much.
Yeah, that came about out of necessity because in 2020, 4 days or 5 days before our grand opening at the Lincoln Center, I was just coming out of an interview we had on WBAI, and we were so excited and so on. And suddenly I get a phone call from the Lincoln Center saying the entire Lincoln Center has closed. And I'm like, what? What are we doing? So, of course, like everybody else, I had to, abide by the rules. And then I saw that some other people were going online, and I figured, oh, okay, we should. But then it wasn't possible in 5 minutes to switch to go online, and we didn't have a platform. So in the beginning, we were sending people links to the films so they could watch them. And it was so rudimentary, of course, we had to postpone it a few months until we had it all figured out. And then in 2021, we did a completely online version. And last year was the first year we came back as hybrid. And we noticed that it's a good formula because it allows people who cannot be in New York to follow what's going on as well. And also what we are doing now was born out of that. And in the beginning, we have MNN. I'm a member as a producer of Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And we used to invite the filmmakers to the studio to sit down and have a proper interview like normal in a normal studio situation. And unfortunately, we had to limit ourselves to the filmmakers who were actually in New York at that time or could come to New York. But by doing this, we're now able to talk with everyone. So I'm so happy about that. So there are some good things that came out of COVID. So we can't complain. Anyway, who wants to go next? We still have some time. Yeah. Okay, Frank. I have to unmute you. Sorry.
Oh,
Yep.
that's okay. I would have to echo Jess and Catherine's approach to finding your festival, looking for relevant festivals that focus on issues that we're addressing today was important to me because what I find is that doing these films that matter and that are meaningful, they're heartful, they are not just entertaining, they are engaging and powerful, and they take you to places and make you think about things that you may have not thought about. So I'm very selective about putting my films in anymore to just anything. I want it to be in a festival like Social Relevant that really shows that their approach to film to festivals is they're giving a platform and a voice to filmmakers like us, and I thank you for that. That's it.
Nora, you're
Okay.
muted.
No.
Muted.
Okay. I can.
Oh,
No.
sorry.
So,
Sorry. Yeah.
okay.
I was saying that it's good that we are sharing this, because some festivals don't have neither online nor in person. They are just awards, so you submit, and then I don't know who watches these films. Some group of people watch and they decide, oh, this one gets an award, this one doesn't, and so on. And I think the festival experience is the interaction between all the people who are involved, and whether it's interaction online like we're doing now, or in person, which we will be doing as of March 16. It's very, very a vital part of the festival experience. So hopefully we can keep going in that direction. Yeah, who wants to chime in?
I can go next.
Yeah.
So we wanted to have a really targeted approach to the kind of festivals that we're applying to, especially any that are geared towards, climate or environment, nature, and social change in general, because these really all link together. And the creative director, Maxfield Biggs, and I actually went to New York for school, Maxfield for film and me for environmental science, which is where that collaboration kind of comes. So finding socially relevant film festival, which is based in New York and is kind of dealing with the same topics that we really want to see in films, felt like a pretty full circle for us, and I'm very excited to be a part of it, and really excited to be coming back to New York for the first time since leaving during the pandemic. So that'll be really exciting for us. And one of the things we actually found in our research for this film is that documentaries are something that young people want to see in order to represent the climate crisis and what they're feeling and their emotions. So being able to create a doc and have it be screened virtually and in person that can maybe help some young people feel seen and heard, and maybe even walk away with some tools, is pretty cool. So thanks for giving us that platform.
Yeah, well, I meant to say, feel free to invite a lot of young people, because we also, this goes for everyone actually, we give out free tickets to students. So
that's good to know.
Yeah. If a student comes to the cinema and shows us their student ID, regardless of how old they are, they can be a senior student or they can be a junior student, any student, and we would welcome them, and space permitting, we will offer them a free ticket to come in. Because why are we doing this? We're doing it so people can see these films. And who are the people? The people are mostly the new generation, the younger people, the students who need to know about these matters.
That's such a fantastic opportunity. I believe the block that we're in is right across the street from the New School, from Parsons, where I teach, right up the street from NYU. So we should definitely message this.
Yes, please do. We have a outreach group that reaches out to partner organizations and all that, but sometimes we don't have the manpower to reach every single college or university. So if you have access to these people, please put them in touch with us, or just tell the students to come. They can either, as an organization, as a school, spread the word, or the students can just show up and show their student ID. Right. We still have another 10 minutes. So if anybody wants to, maybe, yes, Mika.
Okay. Yeah, I also found the festival from Film Free Way, of course, and I have also quite carefully chosen where to send the films, because you can't send everywhere, and especially in the United States, where the festivals are quite expensive, like more expensive than any other countries. So it's just only because of that you need to think where you send. And of course this festival was like perfect match for our film. And what I hope Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's even on the name, which is actually good that it's written on your festival name, because you don't have, you know what is it about, because many times you need to spend lots of time to read all the descriptions, which
Yeah.
is not very very nice.
So you lucked out because now your film is screening in person. But are you going to be able to come?
I don't know, because now at the moment I'm here in India, and
Yes, and you are
then I'm
working.
going back to Helsinki first, and it's almost there's little time. I'm still thinking a little bit that, but I'm not sure at the moment how it
Yeah.
goes.
Well,
With the
before
big,
you joined in, I was telling everybody about how I am now in a feature film in the female lead, which is by Rax Renikangas, your compatriot. It's a Finnish-Spanish co-production that we just shot in Spain, and it is having it's in post-production right now. So I was saying that on the occasion of saying that I'm very careful to know who are the narrative filmmakers, because I can propose myself as an actor, and everybody laughed. And then I said, yes, you're laughing, but it just happened last year. So anyway.
and for me it was one of the goals to have premiere in New York, which now happened, but now I'm not sure if I can come, but I need to think about it.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll take care of the baby and give the certificate of approval. So
Thanks.
you can continue. Right. So if anyone wants to jump in on that, and then we can quickly take a round and everybody can tell us about their next project if you want to share it with us. No? Yes? No?
Well, we're about to go in and start working on the next one of these. So we make a Kids Matter film every year, and this our next one we're focused around poverty and privilege and class. Sort of socioeconomic sort of themes as they relate to kids. So we're really excited to explore that for our next one. We also have a feature film that we're currently getting financing for. But yeah, we're really excited about doing the next Kids Matter.
Wow, that's really cool. And what other next projects do we have? Yes, Frank.
So let me take that. Yes, my next project, which is hopefully will be released this summer, is called Bridge of Curiosity. And it focuses on, and again, this is a film that is going to be done with global filmmakers around the world, with very young and very old people in the film. And the focus is on, which something that I didn't even realize impacted us around the world. It is age segregation and apartheid. And what that means is, what I found in my research over the last 3 months prior to starting pre-production, and now I'm in post-production, is that there is a very concern today in society about the divide between elders and young children, and the concern about the divide instead of the gap. And what I mean by that is that in this film, what we're going to do is we're going to explore curiosity, which is the young, wisdom, which is the older, and discovery between them both. And what I found in my research is that the very young and the very old have many things in common, and that is they both thrive off of love, connection, and inclusion. And we want to share with the viewers and the audience around the world how important that is. So I have many different countries involved. We have a tribal leader speaking to some young girls in Africa. We have some indigenous Native American tribes speaking to children here in Colorado. And what we're trying to just show is that because what happened was when we became this part of the world where everybody has a phone and they're so young, but what we've lost connection with is there seems to be a tendency to think that in some of the parts of the world, very young children think of elderly as people in senior homes, and they have nothing to give or they have nothing to offer, but they have so much to share and they have so much they want to learn. And the difference between being accepted and being included is really crucial. So if you're young or if you're old, you just don't want to be accepted. You want to be included. And this is what that film is all about, inclusion.
That's an incredible topic. Very, very interesting. I am on the board of MRHS, which is one of the venues where we are screening. It's the Morningside Retirement and Health Services. And what it does is it provides home care for aging adults who don't need to leave their apartments and go to a nursing home or something just because they are unable to take care of certain functions in their lives. And MRHS has a center where people go during the day and can socialize and read and drink coffee or tea or whatever. And also they have activities, including screenings. And that's where we are having two of our screenings. We have on Monday the Black History Month series, and on the 20th we have one of the BIPOC films series. And it's very, very important what you are saying, because the inclusion is so important. A few years ago, we had a project where we put youngsters who have after school video as one of the activities they engage in, together with the older citizens of our neighborhood. And they interviewed the people, the younger people interviewed the older people, and learning from their experiences, they put together a 10-minute film, which we later screened in the festival. So that was a way of trying to bridge the gap and bring the two generations together. So it's a really cool, go ahead.
Yeah, and what I want to say lastly is one thing that I've learned through these films that are relevant and impact us around the world, and working with the young children and working, just what I found was, which touched me more than anything and makes me realize, is that no matter the crisis, whether it's COVID, whether it's climate change, whether it's indifferences, if it is impacting us as adults, most likely it is impacting our children, and we need to be aware and listen because their voices matter.
Yep. Yeah, it's all interrelated because we kind of take it out on them in the end. Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Yes, Bonnie.
I just wanted to mention the project I'm developing now is totally different from climate, but I'm a science documentary filmmaker. And so I'm developing a project with a friend of mine about the bipolar spectrum, because it is very little known and little understood. And we want to get the message across that there isn't just bipolar 1, which everyone knows about, which is manic depression, but there's actually all types of bipolar, many of which don't even have any mania. And it often gets misdiagnosed as depression, and people are given the wrong medications. And people who are misdiagnosed with depression, who are given drugs like Prozac, can become a whole lot worse and suicidal. And doctors in this country are not trained to screen people for bipolar. And so our message is to get people to screen, to stop the stigma, to save lives, and to get general public awareness about this mental health issue.
Yeah, very, very important. Raise awareness. That's all we can do, because we cannot solve all the problems. as much as we would love to, but we hope that the impact is being registered somewhere.
Mhm.
One more person before we,
I'll go. So other than the impact campaign that we're working on for this film right now, which we're just trying to get, as much impact and awareness as possible out of that, I've also seen a really big shift to short form as a, way to educate a greater audience. So we have actually started a climate education series called Mold Over, and you can find that on our Instagram at Stranded Astronaut. And we're also starting on a new doc that is looking at the connection between green spaces, community, environmental justice, and health and wellness.
That's great, great. You have a wonderful elevator speech, so
thank you.
Use it. Yeah, and one more person. I know we're.
I'll jump in really quick. I'm doing just something that. I'm just doing a follow-up discovery from the other film about plankton. I didn't really know a lot about plankton, but they generate over half of our oxygen, and we don't really see them. We don't celebrate them, and I just felt the need to actually lean into something beautiful and inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. Mika, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I have several films on the go, and I'm starting new films here in India, but the next feature-length film is called Misfit, which is hopefully coming this year. It's about coming of age story movie about hyperactive 20-something city girl who is trying to find solution her cumulative problems, which includes some substance abusing. So he moves in an isolated island, and in the old hut where her great uncle have been living in 40 years as a hermit. And in the island starts her spiritual journey and recovery process. So spiritual journey means like Eastern spirituality and all that kind. So she's self-healing herself because she couldn't get any help from the government.
Yeah, interesting. Very good topics.
So
I love it. I'd love to see all of these films, and please finish them and come back to show them at the Socially Relevant Film Festival. So we are way over time. So I just want to make one last pitch about our still ongoing early bird tickets at $7, which is a great deal. You can't beat that. You can't even get a latte today for $7. And the $100 early bird is even better because that'll get you not only for the VIP opening night, but also to all the events that we have on offer. So on this note, I would like to say thank you so much for all of you for being with us, and for the audience who have watched and put out comments and questions. We didn't have many questions, but we don't have time either. So, and to hear about your backstories and all the wonderful things you are planning to do, and knowing already about your films, please look at each other's films, view them, talk to each other. And this is a wonderful opportunity. Even if you're not coming, you can still email each other. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.